And thank you for joining us. I'm Major General Theresa Carter, Commander of the Air Force Installation and Mission Support Center Provisional, and I'd like to thank you for participating in a little bit of an experiment today. We're using live DCO and Google Hangout to try and get the maximum participation and really have an interactive event for those of you that may have an interest in becoming part of the AFIMSC team once we move here to Joint Base San Antonio. I'm joined by Mr. Bob Murdoch and Mr. Will Garrett from the City of San Antonio, and we'll have a series of speakers throughout the morning that will share with you a lot of information about everything that the Alamo City has to offer, what kind of opportunities you might expect to see if you're interested in purchasing a home, what kind of workforce opportunities are there for your spouses or for your kids, for other employment opportunities. And then we'll hear from some of the leadership at Joint Base San Antonio to give you an idea of what the base has to offer. I'm a little biased, having recently left Joint Base San Antonio as the commander. I spent 2 years here and had a fantastic opportunity to get to know city leaders like Mr. Murdoch and Mr. Garrett. And I can tell you that without a doubt, you know, the city says it's Military City USA, and they absolutely live it each and every day. I don't think you'll find a more supportive community anywhere around a military installation anywhere in the United States. I want to set a little bit of expectation up front before we get started. First, thank you for sending us your questions. You have sent several into our Ask AFIMSC mailbox, and we hope have folks that are monitoring that live during this presentation. We received a number of questions that came in starting last week and over the weekend, and many of those questions were things such as talking about how military positions are going to be filled, what kind of GS-12, GS-13 positions might be available, what kind of relocation benefits might be offered, are the positions going to be advertised on USA Jobs, and then again, what does that mean to me with respect to timing? So I wanted to let you know that I can provide you a little bit of information in this, primarily with respect to the military assignments. But on the civilian side, we really want to hear your questions. We're going to take those in and provide the answers as part of a frequently asked questions section that will be tied to this video, as well as posted on our website. And you might ask, well, gosh, why aren't you going to do that? Well, the main reason is last month at Corona, when I provided an update to the Chief of Staff and the Secretary of the Air Force, they asked some questions with respect to the timeline that we had for filling the civilian and the military positions. And so we've spent the better part of the last month developing a civilian personnel strategy that will be briefed to the Chief and Secretary next week on either the 19th or 20th of March. So I don't want to get out in front of the Secretary in a decision that she may make with respect to the timeline we've developed, but just know that we are working it very hard, and we will post all of the pertinent details with respect to when AFPC will conduct a transfer of work, transfer of function determination, how we will go about filling the positions. For example, there will be an opportunity to establish a clearinghouse where civilian employees will be able to express interest in coming to San Antonio and to be considered for positions that we will have that will be available. So we will make sure that we get that word out as soon as possible. And really, that's one of the reasons I wanted to try a forum of this nature, so that when we do have those details, we can very quickly bring the experts together and try and brief everybody all at one time. So I appreciate the comments. Again, go ahead and send them in. We will capture them, and we are committed to answering each and every one of them. But at this time, I'd like to turn the floor over to Mr. Bob Murdoch from the City of San Antonio. Bob, over to you.
Thank you, General Carter. As General Carter mentioned, my name's Bob Murdoch. I'm the Director for the Office of Military Affairs for the City of San Antonio, and I've been in that position for about 9 years now. Seated next to me is Will Garrett. Will is the Vice President for the Greater Chamber. Will's office primarily works economic development issues, but also he oversees the Military Affairs Committee, a group of civilians that represent various businesses throughout the city. And the Military Affairs Committee meets on a monthly basis, and Will can share some additional information about that. In addition, we have two subject matter experts, one in the real estate area, and she happens to be a specialist in relocation. So I think you'll enjoy Erin's remarks about the local real estate market. And in addition, we have a individual that will talk about workforce development. What opportunities exist in the city of San Antonio for employment for spouses or workforce eligible children. And I think that would be helpful also. Despite what some people think, especially those that live inside the Beltway in Washington, San Antonio isn't dirt roads and rattlesnakes. It's a great place to live. Why do people enjoy living in San Antonio? Over 300 days of sunshine. Not true today, unfortunately. We've got some rain, but it sure beats the weather that's existed through the Midwest and East Coast during the last 30 days. Cost of living is obviously a significant issue. Cost of living here in San Antonio is extremely low, probably one of the lowest in the United States. And when Erin talks about housing, she can equate that to the cost of housing here in San Antonio. But basically, home prices here in San Antonio are around 30% less than what the national average is. So you get a lot more home for the amount of money that you end up paying. We've got a vibrant and diverse economy. Quite frankly, the military's economic impact to San Antonio is the largest of all our industries. It's over $27 billion. But certainly because of some issues that I'll mention here in a moment, tourism plays a big part. We've got a significant health bioscience industry that collaborates very closely with the military medical institutions here in town. And then we have quite a few entertainment activities and fun things for families to do. SeaWorld is located here in San Antonio. It's a great park, especially in the summertime. They've got a sand beach in which folks can actually wade in past the sand and enjoy the cool weather, cool water during the hot summer months. Six Flags of Texas is close by to that entity. Also, we've got a water park. The Riverwalk is probably our most famous tourist attraction. Recently, the city took it upon itself to expand the Riverwalk, and there are just lots of things to see and do along the Riverwalk, whether you're interested in historical issues like the Alamo or in fine restaurants or shopping. All of that's available and very accessible to pedestrian traffic along the Riverwalk. Golf. We have probably over 25 golf courses here in San Antonio. If you are a golfer, this is a mecca for those that enjoy that game. Probably one of the most well-known golf courses is the TPC out at the Marriott, which just opened about 4 or 5 years ago. But there are lots of municipal golf courses. I try and play occasionally. I'm an awful golfer, but the price is right at about $35 for playing 18 holes and includes a golf cart. So for $35, that's tough to beat if you're a golfer. We have a number of different other activities based on a yearly basis. We have a rodeo and stock show that takes place in the middle of February, and it's one of the premier rodeos in the United States. But in addition to the rodeo, there's a great deal of excitement and activity with children in the 4-H club, and they bring in their various animals and are judged. Matter of fact, the winning steer this past year sold for $130,000. So there's a significant monetary payback for those winners whose animals are selected as the best of the best. But in addition to the rodeo and the farm animals, we have on each of the 11 nights of rodeo, there's national performances by country and western singers and other entertainers that provide entertainment, and it's just a fun time to go out and enjoy that. Lastly, the two areas or two events that I'm very proud of, and Will can speak to this more, is what we refer to as CAM Week, Celebrate America's Military. This is an event takes place around the Veterans Day time frame, early November, and basically It's a salute from the city and the county and the community to our military folks that live and work here in San Antonio. Includes numerous breakfasts and lunch and dinner activities, all for free to the military. It includes a golf tournament that is free for the military, and numerous other events during that week to highlight our military and to thank them for their service. And it's a great opportunity for the community to reach out to our military members. And the last annual event is Fiesta. Fiesta traditionally takes place in the April timeframe. It's about a 10-day venue. And quite frankly, it's when San Antonio parties. It's a 10-day party. And the purpose of Fiesta is to celebrate our diversity and our culture. And it's just a great opportunity for people to get together of all walks of life, all ethnicities, and just have a fun time. There are numerous parades. San Antonio hosts the largest nighttime parade in conjunction with Fiesta. There's a carnival and over 100 events during this 10-day party time frame. So between Fiesta and Celebrate America's Military and the rodeo, these have 3 major events throughout the year, but then lots of other things that you as an individual and your family can enjoy being here in San Antonio. Finally, let me just comment on our military here in San Antonio. We have 4 military installations, Lackland Air Force Base, which is the home to basic military training, Randolph Air Force Base, whose primary mission is instructor pilot training, and then Fort Sam Houston. Fort Sam's major mission is the Medical Education and Training Center, which trains all service Army, Navy, Air Force medics and all service medical technicians. So it has a huge medical presence at Fort Sam. Approximately 10,000 students a year go through the various training programs at Fort Sam Houston. And then the 4th is really a sub-installation. It's Camp Bullis. It's an area about 20 miles to the northwest of town, 30,000 acres, for which the Army oversees, but it has numerous capacities for joint training, for interagency training, and it also supports that medical mission at Fort Sam Houston. Well, finally, my Office of Military Affairs is the conduit between the City of San Antonio and our military installations. I oversee an organization called the Military Transformation Task Force, which is responsible for ensuring that if the military has an issue, that entity can be of any assistance to the military to help resolve that issue. Our former chairman, Mike Novak, was fond of saying, if you, the military, have a headache, wear your aspirin. And we feel very strongly about being able to help the military with whatever the issue might be. With that, let me turn it over to Will Garrett.
Just one thing you forgot, Bob. Go Spurs, go.
Absolutely.
Spurs go.
Yes.
In fact, and it's a good segue. Thank you, General Carter. Thank you, Bob. The Spurs are our hometown team, our only major professional sports team, although if you track that in the media, we may be getting another one in the coming years. Actually on a 5-game winning streak, General Carter, as of last night. But thanks, Bob. Bob did a great job of outlining some of the fun things to do in San Antonio. What I wanted to do, especially for those that have not been here, who have maybe only come through Lackland Air Force Base for basic military training, just give a little overview of the city, our major industries, who is San Antonio. To Bob's standpoint, we're not just dirt roads and horses, as some may feel. We're, in fact, judging by the Metropolitan Statistical Agents area, we are the 7th largest city in the nation. A lot of people find that surprising. 3 of the top 10 are in Texas, Dallas, Houston, and then San Antonio at number 7. And so if you're looking for a metropolitan area, the natural amenities that come with that, we have them all here as number 7 in the nation. But on the same token, San Antonio, and General Carter may feel the same way being here as Joint Base San Antonio Commander, has a small town feel. We are a small town in a big city, if you call it that. The military has been here for as long as you can go back in history, dating back to the Alamo days. But frankly, over 100 years ago, when Benjamin Floyd first flew as first military pilot to fly out of Fort Sam Houston at the time, the military's had a significant presence and still is our largest industry, and frankly help spur and grow a lot of other industries. And so if you look at San Antonio, and I think some questions came through to General Carter from those of you watching today and listening about our major industries, a very large healthcare and bioscience industry with a niche in bioscience and life sciences and biotechnologies. Any major city has a big healthcare industry, but San Antonio is quickly emerging as a spot that people in Boston, that has long been a bioscience hub, looks to for that technology, innovation, growth. Aerospace, aviation have a very large industry here. Former Kelly Air Force Base, now Port San Antonio. We have significant presence from major companies doing maintenance, repair, and overhaul work in aerospace. Cybersecurity is an emerging skill set and commercial industry here. For many years, Lackland Air Force Base has been home to now 25th Air Force, the Air Force Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Agency. The Air Force moved its Air Force's cyber to Port San Antonio, Lackland in the form of 24th Air Force 6 years ago now. And so we have a budding commercial cybersecurity industry here as well to complement what Austin has up the road in a pure technology industry. Manufacturing, and Ava Esquivel with Workforce Solutions, Alamo, who will talk later, we have a significant manufacturing industry here, mainly composed of 50 to 100 person companies, smaller companies, but a significant impact in terms of 30 plus billion annually from a manufacturing presence. And a number of other industries. Bob touched on hospitality and tourism. San Antonio has long been a tourism destination from across the nation, but also within the state. If you look back at the 08-09 recessions, a lot of those travelers in Texas that would go elsewhere across the nation chose to come to San Antonio for staycations and weekend vacations because of amenities like the Alamo and the Riverwalk and the missions. Bob mentioned the historical side of things. San Antonio missions are a historical set of missions that go back to the Spanish area of occupation in this community. So fortunate for San Antonio, we really do have a diverse economic base, which helps our housing market, helps our workforce. When one area of the economy is down, frankly, some of the other areas of those industries are up. And so it allows San Antonio to not be affected as much across the nation with economic downturns and upturns, to that matter. And a couple other things to note, and I know we'll take some questions later. But if you look across San Antonio, we are a big city. Our city limits occupy a lot more than other large cities in the nation. Lackland Air Force Base, where some of you may be coming if you've not already been stationed here, is on the southwest side of town. But for years, San Antonio has moved outwards to the suburbs, if you could call it that. And the suburbs continue to be some of our fastest growing areas in San Antonio in the northwest and northeast sectors of town. But we've seen something in the last couple of years under the leadership of our prior mayor, Julian Castro, who's now the Secretary of the Department of Housing and Urban Development, a resurgence of growth in downtown. And downtown gets a lot of visitors and tourists from the basic military trainees in the military period. And we're seeing a resurgence of those that are working and living in downtown. It's exciting to see. Our urban core is growing. Amenities in downtown are growing. And that's good for any big cities. For years, people moved out of downtown. Now we're seeing more move back into downtown. Things such as the Tobin Center for the Performing Arts, a world-class performing arts center that just came online last year. New grocery stores, new theaters, new amenities. It's very exciting to see what's happening in downtown. But in a nutshell, from the San Antonio Chamber of Commerce, we're here as a resource to help not only businesses grow, but help the community thrive. And I think those go hand in hand. If businesses are thriving, the community's thriving, and vice versa. If the community's thriving, businesses are thriving. So you'll hear from some subject matter experts later on specific topics, but it is definitely one of those best of cities in the nation. By any account, if you look at the best of list, where to work, where to raise a family, where to retire, best places to start a business, best places to start a career, San Antonio is in the top 10 of all those lists. And we're proud of that. And we work every day to continue that growth and excitement that is coming from San Antonio and frankly across the state of Texas. So this time I'll turn it back over to General Carter to take us to break. And after break, we'll hear from Aaron Sestero, who's a sales manager and military relocation specialist with J.B. Goodwin Realtors. And also Ava Esquivel, who's the communications manager for Workforce Solutions Alamo. He's our local workforce board and can hopefully shed some more detailed light on the industries, the job opportunities, especially for those spouses of military members that may be taking advantage of this opportunity with AFISMC. So General Carter, back to you.
Well, thank you, Will, and thank you, Bob. And again, thank you all for being with us. We're going to take a quick break so we can swap out speakers. We'll be back with you in a couple of minutes. Welcome back. On the break, we learned that we currently, between the Google Hangout and Defense Connect Online, we have over 400 people that are participating live. So you have clearly exceeded our expectations. And again, thank you for participating today. We have had a couple questions that have come in, and these pertain to the two ladies who will be speaking shortly. So I'll just offer those as you go through your comments. You might be able to address them. So one is, what are some of the larger industries in San Antonio where my spouse could work? Where can I get information on local schools in San Antonio? What type of youth programs might be available? And then for when we bring the folks from the chamber back, San Antonio is a fairly large city. Is it hard to get around? So right now, what I'd like to do is turn the floor over to Miss Erin Sestero to talk about some real estate options for people that may be interested in moving to San Antonio.
Absolutely. Thank you, General Carter. My name's Erin Sestero. I'm a realtor in San Antonio. I'm the sales manager for JB Goodwin Realtors. And most importantly, I'm a military spouse, daughter, sister, long line of service members in my family. So I know all too well what it's like to PCS to San Antonio and begin the real estate process. So I will say we've heard a lot of great news about how wonderful the city of San Antonio is, and our real estate market follows that. We have an incredible real estate market, over 22,000 homes sold last year in San Antonio, which I think is pretty amazing. And I'll talk about that, and both from a civilian standpoint, civilians purchasing homes, as well as our service members, and some unique opportunities there. Our average home, or the median home sale value in San Antonio last year in 2014 was $180,000. That's up about $10,000 from the year before. We talked a little bit about our economy in San Antonio and how stable it's been, and our real estate market follows that. We didn't see the large economic downturn that a lot of other markets saw in real estate. So we maintained a relatively stable home sale value in San Antonio, even in the tough last few years that we've had. So we've seen a great increase there. And the average home in San Antonio takes 68 days to sell. Of course, that's a broad term for all of San Antonio, and realtors can give you a very specific outline of areas near your bases, and areas that you might be looking for to minimize the commute we were discussing, or mentioning there, to make sure that you're in a good area for that. Realtors often talk about real estate in months of inventory. Months of inventory means if no other homes went on the market in San Antonio after today, how long would it take for every home on the market to sell? Our months of inventory in San Antonio is 3.9 months. That's
Wow.
very low. Anything under 6 months is considered a seller's market. So we've got a great aggressive market. For anybody coming into our market, it's great for both sellers and buyers working with realtors to navigate that process. So an incredibly healthy market. Our military population makes for a very aggressive leasing market. We have a lot of individuals who are here for a very short period of time. So leases are often an option for those individuals. But because it's so aggressive in San Antonio, we find that some of our leasing values, or the cost to lease, can be very high. So a lot of our service members, though they might be PCSing here for 2 to 3 years, are finding that it's very affordable, or more affordable, to buy than it is to rent on occasion. So something I wanted to talk about when I was navigating that process, my husband and I PCSed here to San Antonio, I learned just how important it was to work with a realtor who really understood my military needs, that process that we go through. So I wanted to talk today about how important it is to work with a realtor that has military specific training. There are a lot of service certifications that a service member moving to San Antonio can look for. We have an MRP certification. It's a military relocation professional. And a program that I'm a part of is the U.S. Military on the Move program. And it's one that, it comes from a network called Leading Real Estate Companies of the World. Leading Real Estate Companies of the World is an organization that recognize, they're all throughout the U.S. and even overseas, they recognize that there's a great need for veterans to have good resources in their realtors when they're PCSing to areas. So they created U.S. Military on the Move. It's a program of realtors who have come together all through the U.S. and they've educated themselves and gone through extensive training to make sure that they know veteran benefits. In San Antonio, our entire market in the U.S., we have VA benefits, but San Antonio in Texas has some really unique benefits for service members. The Texas Veteran Land Board, some bond programs for buying down interest rates. And these are things that, without having somebody to tell you about those opportunities, I just Googling and trying to find information online as a military spouse wasn't able to find that information. So I'm really proud to be a part of the U.S. Military on the Move network. Again, it's military specific training, along with having a service member who has specific training in military needs. You'll also find those realtors are donating a large portion of their commission back to veterans who are buying and selling the program, or selling their homes through the program. So I can say JB Goodwin Realtors, my brokerage, last year alone gave $73,000 back to veterans through this program. And the program's only been around for a couple of years, so I'm working real hard to get that out to the community.
And do they offer similar things for DoD civilians due to
Absolutely.
their affiliation with the military?
Absolutely. There are a number of programs out there for that. In the slides that accompany this presentation, I've given an overview of, I believe, at least 20 different programs for individuals moving to San Antonio that they can take advantage of, not just the U.S. military on the Move program.
Okay. Great. Well, thank you very much. And I'd now like to introduce Eva Esquivel, who's a communications manager with Workforce Solutions San Antonio. Eva, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. The last time I did one of these, I was actually in Fort Eustis. So I'm happy to be able to do this in my hometown. And I always like promoting my hometown.
Well, thank you. So what would you like to share with our team today?
Well, a lot of what Will shared and Bob Murdoch shared, they touched on the jobs that are available and the type of economy that we have here in the Alamo region. And the number of jobs that we have available are great. Our unemployment rate is low. We're at 4.1% now as of this January reporting period. And one of the things that keeps us at a very strong job opportunity level is the diversification of our economy. And one of the questions that you did have on your virtual town hall was, what types of occupations and industries comprise our economy? Well, I'm happy to say, because it is so diverse, you can find an opportunity for any type of experience or skill set that you might have had in your previous location. We have industries like professional and business services, which make up a large component of the jobs in our area. But we're also known for things like tourism and hospitality and retail trade and construction and manufacturing. Will touched on that. Some of these employers are small, but some of these employers are large. In advanced manufacturing, one of the most notable ones we have here is Toyota Motor Manufacturing, Texas. And the number of opportunities there continue to grow because the tier 1 supplier and compound continues to grow. And they're making even more now than just the introduced Tundra way back in 2004. Our healthcare industry, and we know a lot of occupations in the military surround the healthcare industry, and the healthcare industry is our second largest industry, but the fastest growing one in our community. Besides the hospitals and all the military healthcare services that are available here, we have an older active adult community. So you have residential services that are necessary for in the healthcare industry. So you've got nursing homes and active older adult opportunities, doctors' offices, and CNAs is one of our targeted demand occupations, as our registered nurses. There's always a critical need for registered nurses in our community. The other industries that provide opportunities here, and the one that's been growing the fastest in the last couple of years, is that within oil and gas. The Eagle Ford Shale, for those of you who aren't familiar, overlays a large component of the Alamo region. So the number of opportunities available for engineers, possibly, or quality assurance managers, as well as those who want to work in the actual fields, those continue to grow tremendously. Commercial driver's license continue to be in demand. So anybody who can drive a commercial vehicle and who might have a hazardous material certification, those opportunities continue to exist. You've seen the downturn in gas prices, which everybody absolutely loves, but we haven't seen the downturn in occupations just yet, so much so for it to have a significant impact. And then, of course, all those skill sets that we see coming out of the military are transferable to any one of these industries, whether it be construction, manufacturing, oil and gas, or some of the more professional types of occupations that exist in professional and business services. We talked about, the real estate market being so very open and embracing of military. And I think you'll find that in most all of our services available here in the Alamo region, just because we've had such a large military presence. All of our employers are seeking to hire people who are veterans or exiting service members. We have a wonderful relationship with the Joint Base San Antonio offices to assist those exiting service members. But at the same time, then we know that people get relocated. And when we want to be able to open up the opportunities in the Alamo region to those civilians that come with their spouses who are in the military, and provide them opportunities, not just on the base, but outside the base. And that includes, everything from jobs, quality of life, and of course, all the other programs and services you're going to talk about today.
Right. Well, thank you very much. Let me do a quick check and see if we've had any other questions come in that I can ask you guys to attend. One thing I noted when I lived here, San Antonio had a lot of colleges and universities. Are you able to talk at all about some of the opportunities there as well? If folks are either interested in, they have educator skills or in working on a degree, that kind of thing?
Well, education and training is a component of the services that we provide for people who might have some sort of barrier to employment. And it just could be one certification away from having all the qualifications that an employer might be seeking. So we work closely with the education system here in the Alamo region. There are private institutions and there are public institutions. So the number of opportunities there are great as well. Everything from short-term training to, bachelor's and master's and PhDs. I think that that's one of the things that, we can be very proud of is our institutions have stepped up to the plate to provide every opportunity. And more of our colleges and universities now are providing career readiness opportunities for their students as opposed to just education opportunities. We used to be able to go to school to learn and then, determine what we wanted to do upon graduation. But, the demand now is very different in the economy. It's about going to school to get a job.
Right.
Not just your interest, but being employable upon exit, regardless of which type of training you're going into, whether it's short-term or long-term education.
Okay, great. Well, thank you both so much. So we are going to take another break here, but I will tell you, if you have questions that this discussion has prompted, please go ahead and send those in. We're going to take a break now so we can bring in some experts from Joint Base San Antonio to talk about things that are available on the installation, as well as some other opportunities for child and youth programs, things of that nature. So we'll be back with you shortly. Welcome back. Before I turn the floor over to our two representatives from Joint Base San Antonio, I wanted to identify again a couple of additional questions that have come in, and I think that they're going to be able to handle that in terms of youth programs available in the area. How hard is it to get around San Antonio, given that it's a large city? And one of the most recent ones that popped in asked about if vacancies will be offered to displaced personnel first before being offered on USA Jobs, and are there going to be opportunities for job swap? So I'll touch real quickly on the, again, the process that we'll go through once we have the okay from the chief and the secretary next week. Very likely, we're going to follow the standard process for identifying people to go in the jobs. First, as you know, you have to look at the local area to see if there are any folks that would be offered the position first. Then we will look at what I mentioned in terms of a clearinghouse, where civilian employees will have an opportunity to submit their name and say, yes, I'm interested in coming to San Antonio, and here's my resume, and here's all the different skill sets and experience that I have. We would then look to hire people out of that clearinghouse. We'd also look at overseas returnees and other people coming out of civilian education programs like intermediate disciplinary education or senior service school, for example. Once we get through all of those wickets, then we would be looking at recruit and advertise to hire the remainder of the civilian positions that we need. But again, we'll provide much more detail about that, both in answers to the frequently asked questions as part of this video posted on our website, and then we will plan another session like this towards the end of the month to make sure that we get the word out to the maximum number of people. So with me now, I have Mr. Phil Jimenez from the 502nd Air Base Wing, the Executive Director, and Ms. Karen Rudolph, who is Chief of the Military and Family Services Flight in our Force Support Squadron. So Mr. Jimenez, over to you.
All right, and first thing I want to do is talk a little bit about the transportation process that we have here. We are working very close with the Metropolitan Transportation Department, and we have buses that actually come into our installations and locations, and we're very happy with that. We also have a van pool. So if you're interested in van pooling and that's what you're used to, you can get together with folks that work with you or work at your location, and you can actually go to the transportation department, call VIA, apply, and they'll provide you a van, and they'll give you even a check. So folks will get checks, and you are able to use the transportation system. You just meet at a certain point, and you go to your work location, and you're using that transportation back and forth. So it's really awesome, and it helps with traffic, keeping the traffic down. Another thing that the city is really wonderful about in transportation is when they have major events, they have actual areas where you can go park your car. You get in the bus, they take you to the event, so you don't have to be messing with the traffic.
That's good.
That's really pretty awesome. But I also want to talk a little bit about job employment. As you know, the Installation Mission Support Center is going to have numerous vacancies. At my wing, we have approximately 600 vacancies, so we're looking for folks to apply for the jobs. It's a federal opportunity. There's about 20,000 federal DoD jobs here in San Antonio, and 12,000 of those are Air Force, and 8,000 of those are Army. And those are just Department of Defense opportunities, so that's really great. So what I always tell folks is make sure you have a good resume.
Right.
So if you're a current federal employee, update your resume. Here we know it as the Military Family Readiness at Air Force installations. They're called the Airmen and Family Readiness Center. They offer resume opportunities, and that's what folks need to be doing, updating the resumes. We post all our job opportunities on USA Jobs. So, and they normally run for about 5 days. So Monday through Friday, but they can be posted every day. So folks should go in there and use that tool and be looking for opportunities to apply for. So you can either upload your resume, or they have a template and you can go out there and fill the template, posture yourself, the job that you're interested in comes in, you nominate for yourself.
And these are for positions within the Air Base Wing.
These are for position. USA Jobs is for everybody, not just the Air Base Wing.
Okay.
So the Air Force, the Army, the different Department of not only Department of Defense, but the different departments post your jobs, sir. So it's a wonderful tool.
Right. So this would be good for somebody that maybe is military and their spouse is civilian coming to this area to try and find an opportunity.
That's correct. And right now, what they're tracking, I'm just talking Air Force jobs. there's about 150 announcements every day.
Wow.
That's pretty awesome. So there's opportunities there. Now I want to talk a little bit about the spouse. So if a member decides that and gets selected to come to San Antonio and the PCS, it's important that their spouse be on the orders. And I say that that's important because even if the spouse is not a federal employee, when she comes down and she's interested in a federal job or he's interested in a federal job, they can go to the personnel office and they can register in priority placement, and they'll have an opportunity to be considered for opportunities. So that's pretty awesome. That's something that the department does, which helps families that where both folks are working. And that's really good. And normally a person can apply for the priority placement about 30 days before the PCS. And that's what I encourage the spouses to do, to look into that and apply for those opportunities.
Okay.
Good.
Great information.
Good.
Karen?
Thank you, ma'am. As you know, we have a very large child and youth programs across Joint Base San Antonio. We try to strive for the Air Force goal of quality, affordable, and available care. We do great 2 out of the 3. We have 7 child development centers, and as you can see from the slide deck, we do have wait list across. So the availability is the one we're challenged at currently. But in our centers, we have great quality care. We're inspected by the Department of Defense annually and do a remarkable job on those, as well as nationally accredited in our child development centers, as well as our school age programs. So I did share all 3 wait lists on the slide because it will depend on where you may live, may decide where you want childcare. But I'd like to just zone in a little on Lackland since the office is down this way. We do have 3 child development centers on Lackland. One is Kelly, which is in the Port San Antonio, closest to your office. And then we have Gateway, our largest center, and Lackland, our newest center, both on the main base. We have over 500 slots right here. We do have a small waiting list of mainly infants and preschools right now currently. That does change all the time. And we also deal with our family child care program. We have 17 family child care homes in Lackland alone and 23 over Joint Base San Antonio. And so we can help support care in our family child care program as well. And we also work with the National Agency Child Care Aware, where DOD has subsidized some local centers off base to help support the wait list that we have. So there are many avenues there. They can get on the wait list once they have orders by contacting one of the numbers on the slides, and we can get them email information at that time as well. Again, it's always changing, the wait list, so depending on when they come, it may look different when they come. So we also have a school age program for before and after school at each location across Joint Base San Antonio, and normally no waiting list there. We only support the ISD school on each location, so we don't do the community schools and bring them on. So important to know, but there is summer camp where we take all children of need. Most of the time that's where our numbers really grow. We take in about 800 kids ages 5 to 12 in our summer camp program, and we do normally get wait list for our summer camp for that age group. So you also, I mentioned family child care. I also want to say for any spouses that are coming along and may be interested in opening a family child care in their home, we are always recruiting, and obviously based on our waiting list have a need for that. So that's another avenue of employment, self-employed in their home that benefits our families. So I think you mentioned something about youth programs.
Right.
There was a question about that. We have outstanding youth programs, again, across JBSA. We run the traditional sports programs at each location and have instructional classes. We have what we call our social recreation youth development program that contains Boys and Girls Club and 4-H affiliated curriculum. So great youth development going on for the older kids that don't actually need care any longer. And then also just really large family programs all year round to support the family and quality of life.
And Karen, you mentioned the school age program, and I'm glad you mentioned that because on our locations, we have school districts, and there's 3 school districts. And I want to talk a little bit about the schools because I PCS down here. And I PCS with a daughter that was a senior in high school. And we were kind of like, gee, what school do we go through? Well, there's 23 school districts in San Antonio. I could have done the homework myself, or my spouse could have done the schoolwork. But one of the outstanding things that we offer is the school liaison. And you need to link up with your school liaison. They can help you. They can provide you a package. Even before you PCS, they can put you in contact with the schools that you want. The counselors are very helpful. My daughter had a very easy transition in her senior year, and it was because we took advantage of the school liaison. They can tell you where to go and find the information on the schools. And then there's also schools that have specialties, and I'm talking if your child is interested in communications as his or her career, there's schools that actually specialize in that. And that was really outstanding. So I tell folks, take advantage of the school liaisons. If you're interested in federal jobs, make sure you go to USA Jobs and call the personnel office. And they're willing to help you. And on the slides that we provided all that contact information.
Right. I remember seeing that you had, so each of the sub-locations at JBSA, so JBSA, Lackland, Randolph, and Fort Sam, all have school liaisons that can help people out.
And people, you mentioned transportation. San Antonio, the downtown area has been revitalized. I work close to Fort Sam, which is in the downtown area. Some folks actually live about 2 blocks away from where they work in beautiful condominiums or apartments. Others like to go a little bit further. So it just depends where you want to live. So you can either move inside the city and you can move outside. We have a wonderful transportation system. And getting around, it's not that difficult. So.
Well, great. Well, thank you. We have had a couple of questions come in. One was, if I'm selected for an IMSC position, will relocation be authorized? And right now we are trying very, very hard to ensure that we can pay for the relocation expenses. But again, we're going to provide a little bit more on those details when we post the frequently asked questions. And the next question was, do surplus personnel opportunities pertain to GS11 as well as GS12 and 13 personnel? So I guess if you could characterize maybe one way to answer that for the positions that you mentioned, which are both in the Air Base Wing and greater JBSA wide, do you know about what grade level, if you had to characterize?
And it could be as low as GS9, just depends on the career field. And what the person should do if they're being displaced is work very closely with the personnel office. They will work very hard to place individuals. Some individuals may just want to be considered in their area where they're at.
Right.
Others may want to broaden themselves. So for those folks that want to broaden themselves, take advantage of that opportunity. And there's plenty of jobs, and I can tell you there's plenty of jobs here in San Antonio. So we welcome the folks to come down here. And I can tell you, you're going to love it.
Yeah, I would agree. And so if the question was specific to positions in the Air Force IMSC, we are in the process of getting civilian positions classified. So we finished our unit manning document on Friday, and so that is for the 350 positions that are in the headquarters, as well as the positions that will be in the detachments that remain co-located with different major commands. And so the mix of military and civilian is set. But the one part that we haven't finished yet is going through the classification action. So as you might imagine, the jobs that people will be doing, although there's some that might be very similar to what they did at a MAGCOM, if we can do a pen and ink change on a PD, we're going to do that. That way we can expedite the classification and we can go immediately into staffing. But there's some positions that we have to develop a new PD for, and we've got actually 70 civilian positions that are already at some point in that process. So for the civilian employees that are watching, again, I expect the information and the pace of change to pick up here now that we have our UMD built and we can identify, supervisory positions, where our military are going to be assigned, and the kind of work that they're doing. So is there anything else that you'd like to offer from a JBSA perspective? And then I'm going to do some closing comments.
You bet. And one thing, the only point I want to offer the folks when they're out there looking for jobs, look at the job experience and make sure that what you have on your resume mirrors what is being required on the job. Because when you submit it to the Air Force Personnel Center, that's what they're going to use. You're not going to receive a phone call questioning about what you put on there. So you need to have that resume written correctly so that it speaks for you. Once you get referred out, then the selecting official will look at it and he or she may interview you. So at least they know exactly what they're looking for.
Okay.
So I hope that helps.
Karen, anything else?
just look forward to the new customer base. And once they're in our child care and our youth programs, they'll see great quality of life, quality of care, and it should be an exciting place for you all to move to. It's JBSA is a great place to work.
Well, I couldn't agree more. And again, I recognize I'm a little biased having been the commander here. We didn't touch on a couple of things. Again, I would encourage you to visit the JBSA website, look at the slides that we provided. For instance, if you're interested in living in privatized housing, we actually have 3 different privatized housing communities, one each at JBSA Randolph, JBSA Fort Sam, and JBSA Lackland. And that a little bit different in terms of availability, waiting lists, and so forth. But depending on where you want to live, that may be an opportunity as well. For instance, the schools at JBSA Randolph, the on-base schools are very, very highly regarded. So an opportunity to live on base there affords your children the opportunity to go to that school. A couple of closing comments. So you've heard a lot of information this morning about what is San Antonio all about? What are the opportunities in the city when you're not working? Maybe some options on the real estate market, spouse employment, as well as some of the opportunities at JBSA. It is a large city with a lot of opportunity, but as Will Garrett pointed out, former Mayor Castro, when I got here, he was really emphasizing big city, small town. And it is very large when you look at the area on a map, as well as the population, but it really never felt to me like it was a huge city, a very impersonal city, because so many different parts of town have different kind of festivals or different things to do. And again, for the military members or our DoD civilians, the city so much embraces what the military bring to the city, and they really bend over backwards to accommodate special needs and desires and that kind of thing. So that's a lot about why come to San Antonio from a city standpoint, but why would you want to work for the Air Force Installation and Mission Support Center? If you've seen some of the videos and some of the articles that we've put out, you've probably heard me say that, AFIMSC is a very hard acronym to say and to get the letters in the proper order. And what I've asked people to remember, if you want to remember it's IMSC, just think I'm supporting commanders. If you're the kind of person that enjoys helping people out, if you really like to solve problems, if you like a challenge, and this is going to be, again, one of the biggest changes for the Air Force in the last really 20 years since we stood down SAC, MAC, and TAC and stood up Air Combat Command, AMC, and so forth. So if you want to be a part of something that is new, exciting, and challenging, I can't think of a better organization to raise your hand and say, I want to be part of that. Now, I won't tell you that it's going to be easy. And I have now been doing what I'm doing for a year as of today. And I have seen all kinds of things change. Sometimes we take 2 steps forward, but we're recovering from taking 10 steps backwards. So you will be challenged. But I can't think of a better opportunity to make a mark, leave a legacy, and really leave something better for the folks who come behind us. So I hope that you're willing and interested in the opportunity, and we certainly are committed to try and make that transition for you as smooth as we can. So I'd like to thank the combat camera team here at JBSA Lackland for their support on relatively short notice. You guys were awesome, and I look forward to working with you more when we get down here in a couple of months. So with that, we'll go ahead and sign off here. Again, thanks to the JBSA team, and all of our speakers today.